these concrete bullet edgers has served okay over time, but I want to change. Specifically in this area, I don't love the shape that I put in here originally. Plus, on this concrete sidewalk, I want to have landscape rock all the way along it here to cover up this edge so I don't have to string trim right up to it, and add some cover for the foam I had to install under this to support it. You can see I'm starting with a paint line for where I desire to put the new trim, which is this galvanized metal. In a few areas like this, I'm going to have to remove the sod. Simply so I have some elevation to install the rock and not come up over the edge of the sidewalk. Because this area is relatively narrow, a sod cutter wouldn't work, and it wouldn't go right up to the sidewalk or the concrete. So I'm using a transfer shovel. If you have a larger, wide open area, I definitely recommend using a sod cutter. That way you can quickly cut the sod, roll it up, and get it out of the way. Okay, that step wasn't bad. We don't need to remove all the sod. If you want to level it perfectly, you can do that. I choose to do that in the most part with the stones. Means it's a little deeper in some areas, but a lot less upfront work. We're going to put a good landscape fabric over this, and that will kill off all the grass easily. I bought this galvanized edging off of Amazon. Comes in this nice little roll. Really easy to deal with. I'm just going to unroll it here and lay it next to where I want to pound it into the ground. Now, as you can see there on the inside of this roll, the radius gets pretty tight, and there is a memory to the metal in that area. Around the outside, or I'd say 3/4 of this roll, things straighten out pretty easily, but then at the end there's a little wiggle in there. You can see as I'm unrolling that, you kind of have to bend it the opposite way to get it to straighten out, but it's not too bad. So my whole idea of leaving the sod in place and just using a rubber mallet and pound in the metal edging here was predicated on that it can cut through the roots and the sod and go into the ground. Well, I tried it here. I think it is possible if you went extremely slow and did it extremely evenly, but just the thickness of this metal really isn't up to the task of getting pounded on enough to cut through the sod. So after a little bit of experiment here, I bailed on this, and as you can see, went ahead and removed all the sod in the area where the stones are going to be. Another option would be to use a tool like the transfer shovel, or ideally something a little flatter, to cut through the sod and create a slice in there that then you'd slide the edging in. That would work also. Here I am removing the sod in the area where I want the flower bed or this rock area to be expanded. And one of the ironic things of having a really good sod or good grass is it comes out quite easily, as that root mass really helps stick everything together, and you can get it to peel up quite easily with the transfer shovel in this case, and just take each part out. The biggest hassle with this is just getting rid of it. Okay, we've got a lip to go against now where the sod is removed, so this should pound in a lot easier. Let's see how it goes. All right, I got the edging in. It's not perfect, but it's okay. It's a little bit on the thin side, so you can't hit it too hard. You got to work your way slowly down. There's a little bit of wiggle in it, but really not bad. And once we put the rock on the side, it should support it. And we'll use that with our foot to kind of straighten all the areas out. But we got to get rid of our edgers in this area. We can see the landscape fabric we've got under this area, so we're going to overlap with our new fabric and try to tuck it in below. I was debating whether to lay it down and then push it in at the same time as the edging, but I think that would cause it to pull on the certain areas. So I'm going to use just like a putty knife or something, try to tuck it in there. We'll see how this goes, but got to get these edgers off first. It is a bit of a shame doing something like this twice. That's why I'm experimenting with this in a small area to see long term if I want to transition over to this, because picking up and getting rid of all these concrete bullet edgers is kind of a pain, and also they did cost a decent amount of money. I think they're, at the time I got them, they were maybe $1 a piece or something like that, which isn't that bad, but it adds up when you put them all the way around the house and around every flower bed. So I want to make sure that this is something that will be better long term, and so I'm treating this as a test area for this metal also. Now it's time for the landscape fabric. It is amazing how weeds and plants find any little crack in this stuff to grow. So you can see I'm trying to do a good job tucking this in and getting it tight up to the driveway, and then the trim or the edging also. It went in really easy next to the edging with a putty knife. The landscape fabric, there's definitely enough clearance in the slit that it creates when you pound in this metal edging for the landscape fabric to go down there quite easily. So that worked out quite well. Have all the landscape fabric down, it tucked in really nicely behind the galvanized steel, so I think that's going to work out quite well. Threw some landscape stone on it just to keep it in place, but now it's time to fill this up. Moving this stone around is a bit of a challenge. It does not shovel or rake or move very easily. I had some extra stone that I kind of stored over by the garden from a previous project that I'm using here. But as you can see, the best method I've found is to dump it or do it by the shovel load and just kind of move it around with the edge of a transfer shovel. I've tried a rake and some other things, and it just does not work any better than just using the shovel. Here is the finished product from the rock side. I'd say I probably could add a little bit more rock to come up to it, especially in this area here, but looks pretty good. This is the end that was tighter in the coil, and you can see it definitely has some wiggle to it. I did try to kind of work it out, and you can. It just is never going to be perfect likely, but we can see here the side that was on the outside of the coil has much less wiggle to it. From the grass side, I did try to keep it up a reasonable amount to keep the rock separated nicely. And then this also provides a shield when you're string trimming, that the grass stays out of the flower bed. I've considered doing more of a live edge where you just basically have dirt and the grass ends. My one reluctancy to do that would be just that barrier to keep the rock in the flower bed and then to keep the grass in the grass. Some grass does still get in the edge. I try to blow that out to prevent buildup of organic material in the rocks, and then that creates more and more weeds. It's almost impossible to prevent a lot of it, or it's almost impossible to prevent completely, but I like to slow it down as much as possible. So some still gets in there, but it provides a pretty good barrier against that. About the same as the concrete pavers. The one advantage of the steel versus the concrete is that's a much gentler on the string from the string trimmer versus the concrete that really eats it up pretty quick. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this. I'm not 100% sold. It'd be nice if it was a little bit thicker and held its shape better and didn't deform a little bit. I know I'm pretty picky, but I don't like any wiggle in it. I want it to follow perfectly, and it doesn't quite do that. It's not bad right now, but my concern is with kids running around, the robot lawnmowers bumping into it, it's gonna get dented and dinged over time. Ideally, I would eliminate string trimming completely, and I already referenced the robot lawnmower. If you watch my channel, you know I use exclusively robotic lawnmowers to do my lawn. And they're able to get pretty close to this, but not overlap or anything like that. So if I had a horizontal piece that came down onto the lawn, it'd have to be fairly significant that robot lawnmower could ride on. It would eliminate string trimming completely, which since I've eliminated mowing, now string trimming is my twice a week task that I have to do. And it's kind of a pain in the butt, actually. So I'm gonna look for some product like that. If you know of something, I do know kind of the extruded concrete, that's an option. I don't necessarily want to pay for that. I like doing stuff myself. But anyway, if you know of something, send it to me, put a link in the comments, I'll check it out. Thanks for watching. Adios.